And welcome into Gator Bytes on the 1010XL.com podcast network, also being simulcast on the Florida Gator 1010XL Facebook page. Today's Gator podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for the highest quality care. You can rely on Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for any orthopedic injury or concern, and you can log on to their website, se-ortho.com. He is Dylan Denmark. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. You presumably are Florida Gator fans. That's why you're watching. As Florida comes off clearly their biggest win of the year over the Texas Longhorns, they now travel to College Station tomorrow night to take on another top 10 opponent in Texas A&M. And Denmark, it is October. We are getting close to the Halloween season, and Billy Napier, for the second year in a row, is channeling his inner Michael Myers as a guy that just won't die, as a guy that keeps getting back up off the ground. Last week, he was as good as gone, and then they absolutely dominate the Texas Longhorns. And now some Gator fans certainly have optimism going into College Station tomorrow night.
Yeah, who would have ever seen this coming? I said, I say it, I didn't fully mean it, but it would not surprise me if Florida is at 3-4 going into the bye week when they play Georgia. And certainly as you look now with Dallas Wilson now in this offense, which obviously there was a lot of things that changed in the Texas game. The offensive line played a much better. DJ Lagway played much better. They gave the ball to Jaden Ball. Who would have thought that would have worked? But Dallas Wilson is everything that we thought of as Gator fans, like everything we saw in the spring game. Maybe Billy was holding out for this offense to put all his good cards on the table for Dallas Wilson when he came back to his offense, because man, he is different.
You know, he is, right? And he was obviously a guy that wasn't there the first four games. But the question I have is, all right, you score, what was it, 16 points or whatever against USF.
One
You
touchdown.
throw you throw five picks against LSU.
One touchdown.
Um you have 30 yards of offense in the first half against Miami with one first down and two quarters of play. And then you look like that against Texas, and particularly DJ Lagway. I mean, how that doesn't happen, right? How can you look so awful, go into a bye week, come back against Texas, and look like that? That's 2 years in a row that's happened. On the positive side, yeah, it's great. On the negative side is, what are they doing in off-season workouts to look that awful when the season begins?
Yeah, I heard Chris Doring on with the boys with Hicken and Prosser, and he said if you take out the FCS games in the first month, Billy Napier is like 5-9 against like FBS teams with losses to Utah, Kentucky. Remember last year, Miami, A&M, and then all of a sudden he finds a way to start rallying the troops. I don't know how, like, what makes the team have such slow starts. I would say with this season, Lagway looked much healthier, number one, against Texas. I would assume that's because he's practicing more. Because the first couple of games, it looked like he did not practice at all, at least at 11 on 11, and getting those reps with his guys and being on the offense throughout the week. As compared to last week, it looked like, okay, he had a rhythm. Okay, he has his guys on the outside. Oh, and you can run the football. Jaden Ball got more carries against Texas than he did against LSU and Miami combined. And those LSU Miami games, those games were not blowouts. Those games were not out of hand. Both of those games, you had a shot in the fourth quarter. At least you felt like to tie the game. Mm-hmm. And Jaden Ball on the offensive line played exceptional. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, Hack. But if you play like you did last Saturday, you have a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter.
I mean, when you take a deep breath, right? And I know everybody's killed Napier, and I'm certainly guilty of that as well. You are. I mean, everybody's talked negatively about him professionally, not so much personally, obviously. I think he's a good dude, but I just didn't want him to be the coach at Florida anymore, and I probably still feel that way. But you look at the landscape of college football: Notre Dame, Florida State, Auburn, all of these really good traditional programs that already have two or more losses in 2025. Is it just where we are in college football that, I mean, yeah, you're just going to lose games now in the land of NIL, and you shouldn't, throw a coach out to pasture because he loses a couple of games in September or early October?
I mean, I wouldn't in general for college football, yes. No team is going to go undefeated anymore. I mean, obviously with Penn State going to UCLA, that's inexcusable. I mean, your defense giving up 40
Yeah.
plus points.
Penn State's
Um,
another one that has two losses. That's right.
yeah, and the world we're living now in college football, I mean, it's just going to be you're going to be 10-2, and that's just how it's going to be. I mean, Florida's a little different because they've shown us over and over and over and over again, and the head coach who calls plays on the offensive side of the football, the offense has been by far the worst side of the ball year in and year out. But yeah, in college football, I mean, this is how it's going to be. Texas, another team that's lost two games, both on the road. Tough environments at Ohio State and Florida. That's how it's going to be going forward.
You mentioned the play calling, right? We haven't mentioned that at all this entire week. It's amazing what happens when they actually win games. Did you see a noticeable difference in play calling between Texas and what we saw before the bye week? Or are we just not killing Napier now because the players are performing said plays that are called?
I think the player. I didn't see anything different. Now, I mean, I didn't go back and watch the game. I didn't go back and watch previous games. I just thought they executed what they were supposed to do, and they ran the football, which helps, which they didn't do in the first four games. Apparently, I was listening to Prosser on Swamp Sessions that you hear on the 10 the 1010XL Gators after the games, and apparently he was driving in and listening to Shane Matthews post game. He said Shane Matthews was saying they didn't run any different plays against Texas. They just executed and they were performing well. And to
But
me,
isn't that in favor of Billy Napier though? I mean, we've all been super critical of the play calling. Well, if he's calling the same plays, the players just did them better against Texas than they did previously. Why were we ripping Napier then? Should we have been ripping the players more?
I mean, it goes both sides. I mean, against South Florida where he gets a lot of like rip, the first half, not the second half. The first half, I thought he called a good game. He called plays that scored touchdowns. The players, one dropped one, two get called back on penalties, and you call a trick play in the middle of the second quarter when you're clearly running the ball, and you don't just run the ball right at him. I thought he called a good first half. The second half was a lot different. Um, there's that, and then the LSU game, you give the ball to Jaden Ball 6 times in the first half, and DJ Lagway throws 49 times. If DJ Lagway has to ever throw the ball more than 40 times in a game, and you're not trailing early, you're not going to win that football game. So it goes hand in hand. But yes, a lot of it does have to go on the players. We just want to sit here, and when we lose, fans want to point one person out. And that one person is usually Billy Napier.
Yeah, and like we talked about, and it's different. And this is not your dad or your grandfather or even your older brother's college football. This is the land of NIL. Normally, you don't rip collegiate athletes. I mean, I mean, with what Lagway's making, he wasn't earning that up to last week. I mean,
No,
Lagway's a millionaire right now with what he's doing.
wasn't it
Um,
the what was it? It was a 3rd and 2. It was against Miami, and they had Abrams in at receiver on a 3rd and 2. A guy that's like not even a top 4, top 5 receiver on the team, and he's in the game at a critical point, and he's short of the sticks and falls down. Any receiver that Mizell, Eugene Wilson, Vernell Brown, any of the tight ends, I feel like they would have known that they would have been aware of where the sticks were to get the first down, to get the chains moving. Now, would it have mattered in the long run? Probably not. But that's one of those other things too. That's part of the coaching where it's like, why is this guy in the game?
Agreed. No, I mean Billy Napier's not without flaw. Are you kidding me? I've said repeatedly that I don't think he needs to be the coach at Florida anymore. But I do think it's ironic that they actually win a game with basically the same plays he was calling during LSU, Miami, and USF for the most part. And we haven't heard a peep about play calling because that's what winning games does as opposed to losing games. Quickly, Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, they've been the presenting sponsor of Gator Bytes, man, for years. The good doctor, Kevin Murphy. You can check him out Thursday mornings with Jeff and Dan on the drill in the 7 o'clock hour for his weekly analysis of injuries in the world of sports. Again, se-ortho.com is where you can find all the information. And we certainly want to thank Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for their continued support here of the Gator Bites podcast. Texas A&M came into Florida last year and gave the Gators the beating, right? Now you go out to College Station, Florida feeling pretty good, but this is an A&M team that's good. I mean, this is an A&M team that went into South Bend and beat the Irish. This is an A&M team that's undefeated. You got to go to their place on a Saturday night. You know, Kyle Field will be an insane asylum tomorrow night. What's your thought on Florida and Texas A&M?
And it looks like they have a really good defense. I'm sure most Gator fans know by now. A&M's only given up 1 third-down conversion in the last 2 weeks. Granted, one of those games was against an Auburn team that's not good, especially at quarterback. I think A&M sacked Auburn 10 times in that game, if I'm not mistaken. A&M has a good running attack. The thing is, you have to win on first and second down on defense if you're the Gators to have a third and medium, third and long, and hope Marcel Reed throws the football. If Marcel Reed can get outside the box and run like he did last year, it's going to be a long game. What hurt Florida a year ago, one, Texas A&M in the first half, I forget what the time of possession was. It was unreal. Florida couldn't get any momentum on offense. Texas A&M had the ball. The time of possession was way in their favor. And if that happens tomorrow, Florida's not going to have any chance to win this game. The defense has been playing lights out, even despite all the injuries. And another guy, too, that I feel like hasn't been getting any street cred that has been active but not playing is Grayson Howard. Miles Graham has been playing lights out on the linebacker side, and Grayson Howard hasn't been playing. And yet it really doesn't matter. And Roberts, the defensive coordinator, has been exceptional. No Caleb Banks, no Johnson, no Aaron Gates, and still it's just, plug and play and keep going. I think the game is going to come down to them, A&M running the ball. Can they do that against this defense? And how can Florida continue to run the ball like they did last week against Texas?
Everybody was done with Billy last week, and then he beats Texas. I don't think that's certainly gotten people over, the fact wanting him gone. If they beat A&M tomorrow and they go back-to-back wins over Texas and Texas A&M, would some of the 1-3 start this year be forgiven at that point?
No. You dug yourself in the hole, and you scored 1 touchdown those 3 games. That's just pathetic. And it's in year 4.
Well, then what does he have to do then? I mean, because now Brett McMurphy came out earlier this week, and Brett McMurphy is a very connected college football reporter, has been so for a long, long time. He's with On3 now, and he tweeted it out. I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially his sources are telling him it would still take basically a miracle, right? A miracle finish to the year to keep Billy to save his job. Well, what is a miracle finish? I mean, let's define that.
9-3. 9-3 is a miracle.
You think
finish.
They have to win out for Billy Napier to keep his job?
Well, you said what's a miracle? A miracle finish is 9-3.
Right, but that's not realistic. I mean, I think 7-5 is realistic. Maybe 8-4. 7-5, does he keep his job?
I think Scott Strickland would retain him. Yeah.
I think Gator fans would be fuming, but I think he would.
8-4.
If they go from 1-3 to 8-4 with this schedule, only dropping one more game, Billy Napier deserves a 5th year at that point. I don't think that's going to happen, but I mean, you still have Texas A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State. A Mississippi State team is not half bad, and Kentucky's terrible. But if you go, and again, I don't believe this to happen, but just for the sake of the argument, if they only lose one more game from here on out, at that point, I would support Billy Napier coming back for year number 5.
Yeah, I can't do this like we did last year, where it's a week to week, where it's like you lose, it's like it's done. gone. Get him out, and then you win. It's like, oh, like ask me at Thanksgiving weekend after they played Florida State, and I don't want him there. I've been clear on that for over a year. I'm speaking to what the UAA and Scott Strickland and what the University of Florida will do, with that decision. I mean, heck, Jeremy Floyd, the AD at Florida, previously used to always say, what eventually should happen immediately.
Yep.
And we know this guy's overqualified. We know this guy cannot manage time. We know this guy is not going to win at the University of Florida at a high level.
Totally
And
agree, and I agree that I don't want to do the week to week thing, but I do think the win over Texas got him at least to the bye week before Georgia, and it probably got him the rest of the year, because they beat the crap out of Texas. Now this is not a Texas podcast; they got a lot of problems over there, but if you watch that game, I mean, it was just shocking how much better Florida was than Texas on both sides of the ball, particularly on the line of scrimmage.
yeah, I mean, and Florida can have that moniker of a top 10 win at home. Texas is not going to finish ranked. Texas is not a playoff team, and Texas is not a team that's going to compete for an SEC title at the end of the year. Texas is not a good team. And they couldn't run the ball against Florida, and I know Florida's good on defense. Arch Manning is still learning how to play the quarterback position, and defensively, they still have a couple of holes. I just, yeah, but this whole Billy Napier thing, I didn't think he was going to get fired in the middle of the season. So,
I thought if they would have gone 1-6 going into Georgia, I did think they would have fired him at the bye. If they would
yeah,
have lost Texas A&M, Mississippi State, at that point you can't justify keeping him any longer, particularly when Arkansas, Virginia Tech, UCLA, Oklahoma State have all made decisions at the middle point of the year. But again, that conversation's moot now because they did beat Texas.
yeah, I didn't think Florida was going 1-6. I mean, I know how bad it gotten. Don't ask me, a couple weeks ago how I thought it was going to happen. Like Josh Pay, he made a prediction. He's like, I think Florida's going to beat Texas. Don't ask me how. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think they're going to win. They played terrible in 3 weeks. They have a bye week. They're desperate. I think they'll play better, and I don't think Texas is that good. And you can, moving forward, Texas A&M, I think is much better than Texas, and then Mississippi State. We'll see how they look, as they took Tennessee to the brink last week in overtime, and I forget who they play tomorrow. And that game will be at home. But yeah, Napier staying for the end of the season. I never really had much doubt about that. And we'll see what it's like after 12 games.
The thing about Texas A&M tomorrow, again, they don't win on the road. I mean, Florida hasn't won on the road in 4 years of Billy Napier being there. What do they have? 4 road wins in
I
the
couldn't say
last three and a half
Mississippi,
years.
like Mississippi State last year. They lost at Vandy.
They beat Florida State and Doe Campbell.
Yeah, so there's 2. I couldn't tell you the other 2.
Yeah, they don't win on the road. And to think that you're going to go into Kyle Field in College Station against an undefeated top 5 Texas A&M team at night and win that game, I think is Gator fans being a little disingenuous, maybe not thinking in the realm of reality. Now, I sat here a week ago in this very chair and said I didn't think Florida had a chance of beating Texas. I was wrong. I will openly admit I was wrong, obviously. So I'm not going to sit here again for a second straight week and say they have no chance, but in no way, shape, or form can I pick Florida to win based on how awful they've been on the road under Billy Napier.
No, 100%. South Carolina was one of those other wins. Remember that game came down to the end. I can't find the other one. Yeah, and another thing too, not that this I don't know how much merit this means, but those 3 games where Florida played bad, those games were at night. Those were 7:30 kicks, and this is a 7:30 kick. And Kyle Field gets pretty loud. I would have much rather this game be at noon or 3:30. That's not going to be the case.
Yeah, I don't know what ESPN is doing. I mean, ESPN, I guess the ABC at noon might be considered better than ESPN at 7 o'clock. But the fact that Alabama, Missouri is noon tomorrow and Florida, Texas A&M is 7 o'clock to me is crazy.
All right, so I'll give you this trivia. With when Missouri joined the SEC in 2012 with A&M, how many 3:30 CBS games did they get?
Did Missouri get?
Yeah,
Because you're asking, I'll say they got less than five. Got one. Wow.
one. And it was a
Yeah.
monsoon when they played Alabama, and Alabama beat the piss out of them by like 30 or 40. It's I hate to be like this, seem like I'm this arrogant fan, but like the logo for the Gators just carries weight.
Yeah.
I think a
But
lot of
again,
it,
I mean, and I don't know. I would assume. I mean, ABC's obviously network, ESPN's cable, but I would think ESPN 7 o'clock is a more coveted time spot than ABC at noon. I don't know. It just seems like you want to be in the nighttime primetime game as opposed to being high noon on ABC.
yeah, I don't know the all the details, but yeah, I just wish for Gator fans, this was not at home, or sorry, this was not a 7:30 primetime kick because and another thing too, Hack. This is an hour away. I know this is more of a media talking point. It's not going to mean so much when you get the kickoff, but I'm sure DJ Lag was going to have a lot of his people at this game because his high school was only an hour away from A&M. And
A&M put the full court press on to try to get
yeah,
him. That was the one team that there was at least some thought could flip him at the final moments. And the fact that he's now going back to College Station, a team that wanted him really bad in his recruiting process, I
allegedly,
think hopefully might light a fire under Lagway.
yeah. I don't know if it'll be so much of that as much as it is. He wants to perform in front of his people because I'm sure a lot of his friends, family that aren't able to go to games in Gainesville. This is probably the one game they can go to.
And
So
particularly because he was hurt last year when they went to Texas, so he didn't get that
yeah,
opportunity. So now you're
yeah.
going to Texas A&M. All right, before we give our score predictions for the game, a pretty good week in the Southeastern Conference. What do you like between Alabama and Missouri? Alabama with one loss, Missouri undefeated.
Yeah, Missouri has a pretty soft schedule if you look at what they've done so far and really the rest of the season. It was not surprise me if Missouri has a good year, but at Alabama, like we saw last week against Vanderbilt, um, they looked like it was like, oh, we got a game at half. This might be like last year, and Alabama was like, nah, we're gonna put the clamps down the defense in the second half. Vandy didn't score. I know the score was like what was it, 23-14, and Bama scored late. It really wasn't a game in the second half. But Alabama had total control, and I see a lot of that tomorrow. I think Alabama wins comfortably. I don't know if they win by 30, but I don't think the game is much in doubt the second half.
Yeah, I like Alabama to win the game. Truthfully, I haven't seen a ton of Missouri. I mean, they're undefeated. They've played a bad schedule, but they are undefeated in the month of October. But clearly, Alabama will be their toughest game to date. The oldest rivalry in the South, 7:30 tomorrow night. It's in Auburn for whatever that's worth. Does Georgia have any issue on the plains tomorrow night?
I don't know, man. I don't think Auburn's going to win just because they have such bad quarterback play. But the more I hear, it was like Florida Texas last week, and I'm like, I don't know how these people are picking Florida to win. I don't know if a lot of people are picking Auburn to win. The little bit I've listened to, but a lot of people are like Auburn's gonna give Georgia fits. And that game's only like a 3.5 point spread, which is kind of weird. I know Georgia's not traditional Georgia, but I think Georgia's going to win this game. It would not surprise me if it's like a 3 point game at half.
Auburn needs to survive the first half. Get that game into the second half at Jordan Hare at night, and then we might have a conversation. But if you're Georgia, you try to get up on them early and put a lot of doubt in those people's minds out there at Auburn. Quickly, Florida State Pitt. Kind of a crossroads game for the Noles. 2 weeks ago, right now, they were 3-0 and in the top 10 in America. You lose to Virginia, you lose to Miami, you're all of a sudden 3-2. You might be out of ACC title contention already because you would need Virginia or Miami to lose three conference games now, and I'm not sure that's going to happen. Um, do they have any issue with Pitt? A noon kick at Doak Campbell again, an early kick.
Yeah, I would expect Florida State to win this game, but even if they lose, Rick Ballou, who has been on this over and over again, I mean, about them firing Mike Norvell, who's only won 9 out of their last 10 ACC games. They don't have the money to fire him. and so he's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. I think Florida State will win this game tomorrow. Don't ask me how. I think Castellanos will make enough plays to win the game. But like that game last week against Miami, the final score was whatever it was, 28-22. That was not a 28-22 ball game. That was
No.
Miami thoroughly dominating them on both lines of scrimmage. And oh, by the way, Malachi Tony had another 55-yard touchdown that got called back from an illegal motion. If that probably happens, it's 35-3, and it's ooh, that's bad.
Yeah. No, I mean, anybody that watched that game know it wasn't 28-22. Huge game for Florida State because if they want any chance of their ACC title hopes, they got to win tomorrow. Norvell 5-12, 5-12 in his last 17 games. All right, Southeast Orthopedic Specialist brings it to you every week here on Gator Bytes. We certainly appreciate the good folks at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist for any orthopedic injury or concern. Check out their website, se-ortho.com. The good folks at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. I know you got to get going quickly. I think both of us are going to pick Texas A&M. I like A&M by 10. Give me Texas A&M 33, Florida 23. I think it's a fun game. It's a competitive game, but ultimately, I think A&M gets it done. What kind of game do you see?
It's a little high scoring for me. I think A&M wins by 7. I like a 24-14. Kind of like what you saw against LSU. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, very defensive game. I don't think either team is really going to find a rhythm on offense. And one of the offenses is going to make a mistake or two in the second half. Probably a turnover, probably an interception. And that'll be the deciding factor. That probably goes to Florida's way. To the negative side, I think Florida's going to have a turnover or two in the second half. And A&M comes out on top at home, 24-14.
Again, I sat here a week ago and said they could not beat Texas. They did. I'm not saying they can't beat Texas A&M. I'm just not going to pick them to beat Texas A&M. A reminder tonight, join Dylan Denmark and myself, Friday Night Lights here in the city of Jacksonville. We'll be on all these 1010XL social media channels, as well as, of course, 1010XL and 92.5 FM radio. Victorious head coaches all over the high school gridiron tonight here in Northeast Florida. That show should get underway at about 9:15 or so. Denmark, have a terrific 13 hours, and I will see you tonight under the Friday Night Lights, my friend.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll see you, and I'll be soaking wet. I can't wait.
Yeah, have fun at my alma mater. I know your Baldwin Indians go to play the Wolfpack tonight at Wolfson. Enjoy the ball game, pal. I'll see you tonight.
Yep, see you.